Hey everyone, hope you guys doing great. I'm super excited for today's show. We're going to talk about freelancing as a self-taught web developer. Is it something you should do? Is it worth doing? We're going to have DJNorris jumping in with us. We're going to give him some time to get here. But in the meantime, let's test the audio. Let's test the mics. Let's make sure the music is sounding not too loud. Make sure you guys could hear me. Let me know in the comments. I'll say hello to some of you guys. Hey Adrian, great to see you. Always joining us first. Same with Created with Code. Hey, nice to see you guys. So show some love in the comments. Say hello. Tell me what you guys up to. How's your weekend been? In today's show, like I said, we're going to talk about freelance as a self-taught web developer. DJNorris is going to join us in a little bit, and it's going to be a lot of fun. But I just want to say this is going to be a great topic that we could all have a debate on, because it is one of those things that it's like, is it as easy as people make it out going freelancing? And what does that even mean? And how do you get started? And in my experience, freelancing has been really difficult. And it'll be really awesome to have DJNorris on. And so we could have this conversation, go back and forth to kind of set up like a realistic expectation of what is like to freelance. What is the realistic, timeline you could set for someone who's just starting out versus someone who's been doing web development for a while to jump in and be able to do freelancing. So again, let me know if you guys could hear me. Say hello in the comments. It's awesome to have all of you guys here. It's going to be a pretty fantastic stream today. And I hope you guys having an amazing Saturday. You're welcome here as always. And with that being said, most important part is that this stream is about you guys being able to ask questions. And with that being said, we have DJNorris jumping in just a second. Let's pull him out here. One moment here. Let's see here. I don't know what I'm doing with my computer. I never know what I'm doing with my computer. But okay, we're going to make it work. Hey, let's see.
Hey, how's it going?
Pretty good. Can you hear me good? I could hear you good.
Yeah, I can hear you
Nice.
fine. That's great.
Yeah, fantastic. Hey, thanks for doing this again. I mean, you're welcome on the stream anytime, regardless how many people watch. I think just having a conversation with you for my personal sake is awesome. You know what I mean? It's like, it's pretty good stuff always.
Yeah, I'm glad to be here.
Yeah. So I did want to talk about freelancing. I know it's a very important
Yep.
topic for you because you actually do some freelancing. And I'm made like a video a couple of videos ago saying how don't freelance, just work to get a job because it's easier. But I think there's something to be said about freelancing if you do it the right way and if you kind of know the gotchas. And what interested me about what you said is that you talk business to business, or like you approach businesses, not like, like regular people. And I hate to say it like that, but regular people like to flake out more than normal people. So when you're starting out freelancing and you're just trying to go to whoever, sometimes you're going to have people flake on you. So I really want to hear your experience. So I'll throw it to you right away. Just, you could start somewhere, and then I'm
Okay.
sure I'll have tons of questions. So,
All
and you
right.
could
Yeah.
also do a brief, sorry to interrupt, you could also do a brief introduction too for anybody who doesn't know you yet.
Okay. Well, my name's DJ Norris. I'm a developer. I work for NASA at Goddard Space Flight Center in Maryland, and I also have a business that I run, which right now is all business to business related for web development. So, just like you said, I do not focus on individuals. The money is in businesses. So I started as close to my house as possible and am expanding that network. Literally less than a mile down the street, there's a restaurant. It's a really good barbecue place, and I started talking to them. First time I went there, I just tried their food out, which that's convenient. Everybody loves food, so I like their food. I noticed they had no web presence, just posting their stuff on Facebook. And I waited a week. I made sure the owner saw me in there. Then I waited a week and went back and saw him at his smoker. Went out and said, "Hey, I loved your ribs. They were pretty much the best thing I've ever had. It was a rainy day and the clouds opened up and the sun shined through, and they were just amazing. And he was beside himself. So I just left it at that, and he saw my face again. I came back another time for the food, and it turns out that one of his close friends was in school with me. So we know the same circles, so we got to talking about that, and then I gave him my card and said, "Hey, I want to see people lined up down the street. I want you to be number one in Maryland, and I can do that for you." So he bought into that, and we're working together, and we're gonna. There's a lot of things going on. He has catering business and his regular business, so there's going to be some long-term stuff going on there with getting all that out. And that's basically from that. I've been targeting mainly restaurants, just because that's just low-hanging fruit.
Yeah.
And then another part of that is I'm always networking, so a lot of times through Discord. So I'm on like entrepreneurial Discord channels. I'm on SEO Discord channels, stuff like that, and just talking to people, meeting them, helping out, providing value to people where I can, and then later on saying, "Hey, can I do some work for you? I see you have all this stuff going on. Would you
Yeah.
like to offload some of that to me?" And it started small, but that's actually my main source of income now,
Oh
is just
wow.
working directly with another agency
Yeah,
who's
that's
been in
awesome.
the game for about 10 or so years. And he's pretty successful.
Yeah, yeah. So I definitely like want to dive in more into it. But a couple of things you just said that straight out of the box. Number one, you didn't try to hard sell anybody by being like those emails like, yeah, like, sir, ma'am, we could make you a website. This is what we do. We have team of like, you went and actually checked out the thing and you were like, and you did like a soft sell kind of type of thing. And also seems to me that you go out of your way providing value first before asking for the sell. Like you're making the connection, you're providing value, and only then you're like, okay, this is what I do. Maybe I could help you guys out. And I like how you're doing it from their point of view. This is what I could do for you, rather than what can you do for me? Like give me this job. You don't. It's like that approach of not sounding desperate, as you will, and giving up a lot of value up front. And I think a lot of people don't want to do that. And so it's like you can't get into freelancing if you're not willing to provide the value.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so people always ask for the secrets of things. I mean, if there's any secrets, that's it.
Oh,
You don't, yeah,
we just gave it up.
yeah, you don't sell them a product. You you're selling them comfort. I do not
Yeah.
know what just happened. Are you still there?
Yeah, you're still here.
Okay. My whole screen just went blank and then came back, and yeah. Anyway, so you're not really selling them a product per se up front. I mean, long term, yes, but you're selling them comfort in. I'll say me. I'm selling them comfort in me as a developer, as a problem solver for them. I'll give the barbecue guy example. Actually, I'll give an example from one that I just found out today that me and a team of two other people lost, which
Okay.
was a big hit. It's between 15 and 20,000.
Oh wow.
So no fault of our own. We did the best we could, but things happen. You talk about it being sporadic. This kind of stuff makes it sporadic. So they had a bad e-commerce solution in their grocery store. So for some reason they want to do e-commerce, which is fine. Whole Foods and them get away with it. So, but it's really hard with all the inventory changing so much. So they just didn't have a good solution, and we came in. We told them what we would do, and we showed them how we could increase their revenue by 10% or so,
Yeah.
just by switching over to a better solution that people could actually click through to make a purchase. If developers have a hard time making, using a site, it's not a good user experience. So there's room for improvement there. and that's even outside of all the SEO stuff they were doing wrong. So so we wanted to bring them under this great solution and bring them to the next level, above 1 million a year.
Yeah.
And and instead of saying, "Hey, we're gonna provide just the website to do that," we said, "Hey, these are the things we can do to provide value to you through these things." It's just kind of like rewording, saying, "Hey, oh yeah, we want to use WooCommerce for
Right.
your e-commerce solution. Nobody cares what you use.
Yeah.
We're gonna say, hey, we're gonna take what you have now, where you can't physically order anything, and we're going to make all this automated, and we're going to make it so that they can do a payment directly to your payment processor and
Yeah.
free up your time so you can do your accounting and so you can manage the people stocking shelves. It's You're just providing solutions for them,
Yeah.
which just happens to be the conduit for that is a website.
Yeah, and so
A lot of things.
I was gonna add to that because you are hitting something very important that a lot of people have to understand. When you're looking to provide a service as a freelancer, you're not providing a website. It's a vehicle, like you said, you're using to accomplish their goals that they have. So your goal is to help them increase revenue or help them free up time, like you mentioned, because that's the most valuable thing for a small business or any business owner is to allow them to do the things that they're good at. And the hassle with managing a website or creating like an e-commerce solution, whatever you use, they don't care about that. They just care, are my clients going to be able to click this thing and buy my thing? And I think like understanding that and going to people and being, instead of being like, oh, I have a website for you, no one cares. People want to know like, what is it going to do? It's like, it's going to get you this many more leads, like whatever. But the whole point is like, that's what like I think a lot of people have to understand. You're selling a solution that buys people time to do more important work than messing around with a website. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So, by the way, those of you guys in the comments, glad to have you guys here. Say hello. We talked about freelancing as a self-taught developer. We're going to talk about where you should start. Let's talk about DJNorris's kind of journey to where he got to, where he's making a lot of his money now, well, most of his income from freelancing. And so he has a lot of experience with that. And so don't be shy, ask your questions in the comments because this is for you guys to be able to learn and kind of grow with us as we discuss freelancing and getting into it. Now, before we dive too much deeper, like, when would you recommend someone start freelancing? Like if someone just knows HTML, CSS, and JavaScript barely, like should they go freelancing? I think they can if they do. Like I know a friend who does sites with Squarespace. He charges $100 an hour. Every time he says that to me, I cry because I don't make $100 an hour as a developer right now. But that's what he does. So there's a market for that. And we could touch on about it. But basically, like, when would you recommend someone dive into it?
Well, yeah, you should have that guy on sometime because he
He's a
is
smart
doing.
business dude.
Yeah, he's doing exactly what I'm saying. Then, it he's selling a crappy product, but it doesn't matter because he is an excellent problem solver.
Yes.
So, so yeah, that's kind of a tough question though, with when people should start. I'm fairly conflicted on that. I don't ever want to tell people to not get money how they can,
Right.
but
100%.
I can absolutely say that before I hit about 2 years of coding, basically when I hit my first real enterprise application and I was doing full stack development and managing Nginx stuff, I'll just say stuff is a lot of things. I didn't have a real idea of what it would take if you're a one man team to accomplish all that. You don't have anybody to fall back on if a deployment breaks or if an Nginx config doesn't work. Um, there are ways around that. I mean, you can try to use a managed service where you can just like Bluehost or something where you call them and say, "Hey, this is broke, fix it." And that is nice, but that's not cost effective in the long run. But
Yeah.
that is an option starting out. Um, I really think people should have a full understanding from server level up to the front end before they go crazy. Somebody Jordan had just asked, what CMSs have you used?
Yeah, I was
Like,
about to bring up his question.
yeah, going into that, like if somebody couldn't get a job and they really just wanted to make money, I'm never really going to stop them, say, hey, don't do that. But they should consider maybe using something easy like WordPress that has all the stuff baked in, and using like SiteGround to
Yeah.
where they have a managed service to where backups are done for them.
Yep.
They can pay like $16 a year to have malware scanning daily. Like all the stuff that takes years to lock down, you can do with, fairly easily with WordPress and a managed service. But for his CMSs, I mean, I've used everything I could get my hands on so far. I mean,
Yep.
headless WordPress.
Yep.
I started using Strappy today just to try it out.
Awesome.
Um, Butter CMS, Keystone, Contentful,
Yep.
um, Tipio, I think. I can't
Yeah.
remember the name of that. Yeah, so I've used all the major ones. I know I'm missing something. There's a couple obscure ones that I use at
Yeah.
work.
Yeah.
I'm not
Yeah.
even going to
Yeah.
mention those.
Yeah. It's like no one's gonna know.
Yeah, uh, but I would say if somebody just starting out, if they haven't been full stack developer, just stick with what's easy and stick with WordPress.
Yeah.
That's
WordPress, but listen, it's called the 10,000 hour like solution basically. What WordPress offers you out of the box will take you literally 10,000 hours to recreate yourself. That's what people don't understand. So if you're a solopreneur and you're like looking to get a job, I mean, find your own clients, you could, if if you dive into WordPress with minimum amount of coding, you could do really well. And that's how I kind of started this development thing. But I actually really enjoy coding, and like I just really like React. And so I'm like, okay, I'm gonna do this. But I love WordPress, and I recommend that's the best way to do it. One thing I'm gonna say, because you did mention headless CMS, and you wanted to do WordPress headless, so I'm very like, as I love WordPress so much, I'm like, I gotta use it to power my React applications with like GraphQL and all this other stuff. It's such a pain compared to how easy Strappy makes it, that now I
Mhm.
don't want to use WordPress for a headless CMS. There's maybe some reasons to use it, but like if you gotta do WordPress, stick with WordPress ecosystem. Use their WordPress themes. But for like headless, I definitely recommend use something like that specifically for that application, like Strappy, which is amazing. Strappy doesn't pay me anything, but it's so enjoyable to work with. And
Uh, yeah, I totally agree.
um,
Yep.
so let's say hi to some people in the comments. Greeting from Medellin, Colombia, just starting a Vanilla JS at 50 in 3 months, years old. Hey, that's awesome, man. It's never too late to learn something. It is challenging, I'm not gonna lie, but I'm glad you're jumping into it and doing it. And what I was gonna say, like when I first started learning programming, I just want to throw this in there. Nobody was hiring me because I didn't have experience, and so I'm like, I need to learn HTML, I need to know CSS, I need to know JavaScript. So I started literally selling WordPress service, where I had a bunch of WordPress sites already up, and I would point to people and I'd be like, I could create a site just like this to you. So like part time, I would try to make WordPress sites for people, not because I wanted to go into freelancing, but because I wanted to build experience doing something when nobody else was hiring me. And eventually, I got hired by a marketing agency. By the way, if you're looking to do WordPress developers, those are perfect places to try to get a job where they need someone to do some basic development. They'll pay pretty good, but it's not as hard to get in as like a regular coding job, which is so difficult. Like even now, like I still have a hard time. But anyway, I just wanted to say that. Back to you.
Yeah, that's something we didn't talk about last time. I think that's probably easier than HTML email developer. Maybe go for Creative Circle or something,
Right.
doing WordPress. Yeah. But, talking about headless being a pain, WordPress itself, for I'd say for 95% of the people, that's just a rough, like I just threw that out there number. It's not a real number. For a majority of the people, they're never going to get to the pain points of WordPress. But as soon as you have plugins that don't do what you want and you have to do something custom, it's
Oh
an
my God.
absolute nightmare.
Yeah, it
Just
is.
even trying to console log something through a plugin and have it show up in the Chrome DevTools inspector sometimes doesn't happen.
No.
So
Yeah.
They latch on to the logging and keep it in their internal logging, so you have to go dig for hours for that. It's WordPress is a nightmare, but if you don't get to that point and you keep it simple, then it should be okay for the start. I would definitely recommend as actual developers, doing something more like maybe Strappy or Keystone
Yeah,
with your
yeah,
choice of front end,
yeah,
especially with how SEO is changing for this year.
yep.
And um, Core Web Vitals is a thing now. Like when people go into WordPress, even I still do it. Um, I love Elementor as a builder.
Oh
It's
yeah. Oh
I
my
think the most
God.
popular one.
Yeah, it's so you can
It
create whatever you want.
Yeah, yeah, it's so easy. So they have terrible Core Web Vitals scores.
Yeah,
They pass through about 10,000 lines extra of CSS that aren't needed. I think it's
yep,
9,000 something. Uh, 6,000 or so extra lines of JavaScript. They get horrendous scores out of the box through Lighthouse,
yeah,
and it's just a mess. It's so much of a mess trying to fix that. I
yeah.
spent a week straight on one of my own sites and got to the point where it was more frail than a React application I made after 5 months of coding.
Yeah, yeah,
So it with that, I you either need to just accept it's going to be slow and because it's
yep.
WordPress, or make a custom solution. Which, if you put in the time once
Don't
and
do
you
it with
make
WordPress.
good,
I'm just
yeah,
gonna just throw it in
or
there.
just don't
Sorry,
do
sorry
that.
to interrupt, but I'm
Yep.
just gonna say.
Well, in all fairness, I still do that with my business. If
Yeah,
the guy down the street at the barbecue place, he's getting WordPress because he can come in and I can have custom fields, and all he has to do is come
yeah.
in, drag his picture in. Like I don't have to worry about as a solo person using Next.js
Oh
and
no, yeah.
let's just say Strappy
What
or
what what
something.
I meant to say is that don't write physical PHP code unless it's maybe adding
Oh
like
yeah,
some sort of filter or whatever like
yeah,
in the PHP file. Use the plugins that they come in that basically do it like easy plug and play. WordPress is perfect for everything. By the way, if you're looking to get into web development, I just want to say like for anybody who wants to do like freelancing. I know we kind of talk about mixed feelings about WordPress, but I know we both agree that the easiest way to start making money is doing it with WordPress. Just buying themes. Don't create nothing from scratch. Just get clients, buy themes. Like DJNorris is targeting restaurants. I think it's amazing to have a niche. You could be the guy that targets all dental offices. There's so many in the area that you're going to be able to get clients. And there's like, I just want to share the screen because to me this is hilarious. This guy here, WP Crafters, his whole business is selling courses of how to make WordPress stuff without coding. He's making bank because there's like a market for this type of work where there's like bajillion of people that making money with just using WordPress to create small business websites, and they're happy. They don't care about learning more to code. They don't even want to know what React is. So even though we might be saying negative things in terms of WordPress as a technology, from a business standpoint, you could make money doing that. It's just something that I'm not good. Like I don't enjoy coding in PHP, so like that's why I wouldn't do it. And I really wanted to give WordPress a chance by doing, having WordPress as a back end to connect to my React app. And it's such a headache to do the simplest things that Strappy does out of the box that do WordPress for WordPress, Squarespace for Squarespace. But if you want to do freelancing with like React or something else, use like something that's specifically built for that. And Strappy has just been such a fun for me to work, so I recommend that one all the time. Um, yeah. Let me ask you like a question. So we talked about like, you don't want like about when someone should start developing. Okay, you don't want to give like a direct number in terms of like prevent people from making money, but what is the bare minimum someone should know? Because you kind of went like you mentioned a lot of stuff, which some people will be like, man, I don't know any of that stuff. Engine X, like you don't need to know Engine X. You're just referring to an example that you're using, but like, what's the bare minimum you would say you need for someone looking to get started? I know tough questions. Sorry.
yeah. I mean, I know there's guys that pay me to write custom code, custom PHP stuff for their WordPress sites when they are an agency selling WordPress sites to other people.
Yeah.
They they don't know how to do JavaScript at all. They don't know how to do they can't read JavaScript or any language enough to recognize what a for loop is if they looked at it in PHP.
Yeah.
That's a problem, especially if you have to troubleshoot something.
Oh
So,
my God.
and I mean, if
Have
somebody's going to
stories.
pay me a few $100s for an hour of work because
Yeah.
they needed a piece of code so bad,
Yeah.
I think that's worth spending a little extra time and learning more about how whatever language you start with works, let's say JavaScript.
Yeah.
So you can do simple things like that instead of paying
Yeah.
me to do it.
100%. 100%. Funny thing with WordPress, like a lot of people be like, I'll build you a WordPress site for $50. I would never charge anybody $50 for WordPress because you're basically underselling yourself and making yourself a commodity. What you're doing when you're selling people WordPress sites, you're selling them peace of mind, because I tell this to clients, yeah, you could get a site for $50, but what's going to happen when you go log into your backend WordPress admin site and you get an error message? 90% of people don't know how to fix that. And no, like, yeah, you could even make it yourself, like WordPress site. But when something breaks in WordPress, it breaks. So if you don't know how to go into the backend code to figure out and troubleshoot what it is, like, it's very difficult. So like, don't be shy and like charge people for WordPress sites what you're worth, because you're not paying them for anybody like it could make a site. You're paying them for the fact that their site will work and not go down. But somebody just asked an amazing question. I'd like to get to this because this is great. It's Juan Carlos here. He says, do you think Webflow is going to kill customized web development? And maybe in 10 years. But I think it's made for a specific niche, which is more closely related to compete like with WordPress and whatever name insert WordPress page developer thing in here, rather than competing with like actual developers who design apps. Like what I'm doing for work, you cannot build in Webflow. You just can't. Their database can't handle it. But can you build a site in Webflow which is similar to WordPress with its own basic database? Yes. But what are your kind of feeling about that? I like it though. I'll give like more 2 cents about it in just a second, but I want to hear your 2 cents.
Yeah, I would compare Webflow to like WordPress.com, like the paid version, or
Yes, yes,
Shopify, where
yes,
they
yes.
they
True,
suck you
true.
in and
Yeah,
you always got to pay them. Um, but that aside, the people on Fiverr, the race to the bottom type people, um, the very basic sites, that's all the low hanging fruit, the very very low hanging fruit. Um, there is not from Webflow or from WordPress, but there is a possibility the no code movement, machine learning AI stuff
oh yeah,
will eventually take all that low hanging fruit.
yeah,
But once you get past that very basic level that millions of people can already do anyway, if they just take a little bit of effort and know how to Google, then you're into the realm of what you just talked about. It's not going to take our jobs as developers. There is no way in our lifetime we'll ever see no code get so good that it can make the
yeah,
complex decisions that our enterprise applications need.
yeah,
It
100%,
just won't happen.
100%. Yeah.
So it'll
So
just cut out the bottom, and the people that are good can still
we'll
create
stay
custom
still, yeah,
solutions.
still
Yep.
create custom solutions. Yeah. So if you guys switching careers, looking to get into like web development, like don't give up. It's not easy. I'm not gonna tell you it is. It took me forever to get started, but there's definitely always gonna be work. And if anything, like I would argue, like moving into the future, some understanding of some sort of technology or coding is going to become like important, even if you're applying for a job that might not require coding. Like I think that's where we're all heading. It's just going to be that tech literacy that just like everybody has to know how to read and do basic math, there's going to be this like idea maybe like 10 years from now that you need to know basic coding. I don't know, but I think that's where we're moving. um, and guys, don't be shy in the comments. Smash the like button. I guess that's what everybody says these days. But let us know. Like, we really want to hear what your thoughts are. We actually want to give you guys answers to your questions to help you decide if freelancing is something that you should do. And so if you guys don't ask questions, then we have to kind of figure out what to talk about. We have plenty to talk about. But like, as always, but I'd much rather answer your questions. So we talked about best way to get started is with WordPress. And let's talk a little bit more about going to businesses. I know we briefly talked about it, rather than individuals for getting business. And how do you market outside of like making connections in person or referrals?
That's kind of a tough thing to do right now. I don't believe in cold calls or cold emails. I think that's the wrong way to go about things. I mean, you can find the internet littered with
You're
people
getting me in
saying,
trouble. Look.
yeah, you can find all over the place people saying, "Hey, uh, freelancing doesn't work because I sent 500 emails and I didn't get one response." Well, their method might be wrong for one, but most of the time you're not getting directly to the important person, to the stakeholder in the situation. You're getting like a secretary or something, a marketing person, an automated system that flags everything as spam. Like you need to be more inventive, be more creative with how you're going to go about actually getting to the people that make decisions.
Yeah.
And most of the time, that's through networking, that's through going out and ground pounding and talking to people. It's most of the time it's not through phone calls. Phone calls are better than email, but
Yeah.
a lot of times people don't have the time to sit and talk with somebody.
Yeah.
And most of the time, you're not getting to the owner of a company. You're not getting to the head of marketing on your first call anyway. So I'm still a fan of taking it slow, starting as close to you as possible, local, and that'll give you a chance to work on SEO also, and that can be another product you can
Yeah.
sell people. That's big money.
Yeah, I was gonna
Um,
say that if you're gonna do WordPress, you combine it with the most basic SEO, like making people's business be listed in Google. That's like additional
yeah,
like money you're making, which takes no effort on your part to set up. And obviously, you should also learn SEO to do more complex things. But WordPress with SEO, that's a lucrative business right there. I'll tell you why a lot of people won't do it though, because it's hard getting clients. And somebody asked me a question when I used to work for this marketing company where we sold SEO services and websites. I did a lot of SEO studying, and I heard this guy give how he sells his business and gets clients. I was like, that's way too much work, but it was brilliant. You know what he does? Like he'll target all the dentists. You probably heard me say it in one of the videos. He targets all the dentists, and he'll go on their websites. Number one, he checks if they have a website. If they don't have a website, he's like 100%. You know, he'll make like a basic mock-up, and or if they do have a website, he'll go through and he'll audit all their SEO stuff, and he'll do an audit report, and he'll send that to them for free, like via email, and he'll follow up over phone call and phone call and phone call. And I think like providing so much value, because if you're a business who's already busy, and someone tells you like, hey, you're losing this many clients because this is broken on your website, you're gonna be like, wait a second, you know. And then like little by little you start selling. Like, so I kind of gave like a quick overview of the method. It's more detailed, but I think that's the work that it takes to get clients. And a lot of people just don't want to do that, and that's why my argument is always get the job, because it's easier, because you don't have to do all that sales and marketing and networking and billing and all this other stuff.
no, I agree. That's a lot easier. Uh, but I kind of disagree with people doing work before they get paid.
Right.
Um, I would rather make the phone calls, say, hey, I wouldn't say this to somebody, but I'm just summing up. I would say, hey, there's this, and this problem with your site that I see. No specifics. Uh, let's have another follow-up phone call so I can tell you how you can uh, you can make this better, or
Yeah.
how I can sell you blah 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 solution that will increase your profits by 30%. I mean, it's
Yeah.
nothing's ever guaranteed.
Yeah.
So I would do that before I do things like make a video talking about how their SEO is wrong.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
you don't
That's
you
why you're
don't
making more
ever
money. That's why you're making more money right there, because I'm giving it too much value.
yeah. Well,
No,
it
no, I
also
know what you
comes
mean.
into
I know
a
what you mean.
point of
I'm kidding.
pride
Yeah.
too,
Yeah.
right?
Right. Yeah.
So this is I'm mentioning this because I'm watching this happen a lot in some of the Discord channels I'm in. Guys will come in and they'll either make a video about how a website is terrible, or they'll send an email about how it's terrible, make a call about how it's terrible. And they don't know who made that site. It could be the business owner. Like
Yeah,
you're
100. That's smart.
instead of being agreeable, you've now come out
Yeah,
and you put the company on the offensive. If you
right.
ever,
That's a good point.
oh man, I wish I had the book with me. There's um there's a book from Dale Carnegie called How to Win Friends and Influence People.
Yep, yeah, it's a good book, by the way.
And yeah, it's a very good book. Being a That book talks about being agreeable versus, you
Yeah,
know, feeling the need to correct somebody.
yeah,
So essentially, what you're doing when you send them an email and say, "Hey, I see these things wrong," you're correcting them.
yeah.
You're
That's a good
beginning the
point.
process of correcting them.
That's gonna hurt your chances for sure,
It will.
for
It
sure, for
won't make
sure,
them the
for sure.
best. I mean, of
Yeah,
course, there are people who are successful doing that, but
yeah.
I don't believe that's the best way to go about things.
And it makes sense. I had like my boss yell at me at something at the meeting, and the first words out of my mouth were, "You're absolutely right." And it totally switched the conversation back to him being normal again. If I just continued to argue with him, I could totally see how it would backfire in many, many ways. So this idea of like agreeing with people and then saying this is how I could help you, I think is like very important. Let's like take a look at the comments for a second, see if we have any
Okay.
questions. So yeah, that's a good point. If no code becomes popular, there'll still be people when something breaks need to be fixed. Yeah, 100%. And let's see here. Briefly, we talked about Webflow versus WordPress. I think WordPress just has a lot of more plugins and it's been around longer. So I think I would use WordPress over
And free,
Webflow. Yeah, and then free. But Webflow,
open
like
source.
there's a certain market for easy websites, for low hanging fruits you could quickly bang out. But I still put my money on WordPress at the time now. Although like I like the idea of Webflow. I played around with it, but I'm not gonna build any websites with it. Um, and I guess he's saying that Webflow is going to introduce plugins at some point.
I mean, there's an opportunity right there.
Oh yeah,
Learn Webflow and
Webflow.
make plugins.
Oh my God, that's yeah
Yeah.
huge. Yeah, that's
If you get
that's
in
what
on the
people want
ground
to.
level,
Yep.
I mean, I think, I think talks about it in Shopify, and he's
Yep.
100% right. You sell something, you get in on the ground level of something before it's oversaturated, like
Yeah.
WordPress plugins, and everybody expects everything to be free. Um,
Yeah.
Shopify is a special case because they'll never make everything free. I mean,
No.
that would kill them.
Yeah.
But you come in at the ground level, and let's say you sell something, you have a 2 week trial, then you're $30 a month, and you get 1,000 new signups the first month. Let's say you maintain that for 6 months, and then it kind of ebbs and flows. But there's guys who do that and just have a product suite of like 5 to 8. I think I've seen as the average um, plugins for Shopify, and they're in the millions of what they're making because
Wow.
Shopify sees that so many people are using them that they put them on their homepage in their, I can't remember if it's showcase or featured section. I
Yep.
think Gatsby is showcase. Like what, it doesn't matter. So they put them on the homepage for everybody to see in their app marketplace. If
Yeah.
you get in on the ground level for Webflow and do that, I mean, you're set. You can
Yeah.
hire people. You can sit on the beach and drink
Yeah.
the unnamed
You're
Mexican
spoken
beer
like a
that I'm
true
drinking.
spoken like
Yeah,
a true entrepreneur. Basically, hey, it's perfect timing. This is what they're coming out. A lot of people thinking about how do I make a website with Webflow? Is it going to ruin my WordPress job? And you're like, screw that. Make plugins for Webflow because everybody's going to be using Webflow. Like but that's the thing. Finding the opportunities and being able to be ready to take advantage of those opportunities. I think that's actually right there. That was like $1,000 like tip you just gave. People could have it for free. Look into developing plugins for Webflow once they start rolling it out. That's awesome.
yeah, I'm gonna look into it now.
Yeah, seriously. I've heard
Yep.
talk about becoming a platform developer to start with before a web developer. Any thoughts on taking that route? Platform, do you mean like using WordPress or using Webflow or Strappy? Is that what you mean? Like kind of that just need a little bit more context? If so, I mean, I started with WordPress, building basic websites because nobody was hiring me as a regular developer. And then eventually I learned enough programming to be able to get a regular job. But that's what I would say there. Um, let's see. Here's one. How about converting WordPress plugins to Webflow? Is that a good idea? Um, that's an interesting idea. I don't know the ecosystem of Webflow yet, but WordPress does things so good. But that's an interesting idea. I don't know enough about
I mean,
Webflow.
in all fairness, you can do that with anything.
That's
I
true
mean,
too.
WordPress has been around for so long. You can look at Word. This is actually what I was doing. I looked at WordPress plugins, looked at something I could do, and said, "Hey, I want to do this for Shopify." You can totally do that for Webflow. You just need to make sure, like I made the mistake, what you're making isn't then put out. Like, for example, Shopify, what I made for Shopify, Shopify ended up making their own thing and releasing it recently. So you never know when that's going to happen. That's going to kill your business. If they release it, that is one of the few times plugins for Shopify are released for free, is when they release their own. That could happen at any point. So just keep that in mind. One day business might tank for your Webflow plugin.
Right, right. Um, Tech Rally has a question. Is becoming a YouTuber after, well, or whatever, I can't read, oversaturated? Look at it now, grind is real. YouTube is an interesting thing. Like a lot of people ask me why I do YouTube, and that's because I want to build my brand as a developer. But also, like anybody who's interested in doing YouTube, I would never do YouTube as a way to make money like Logan Paul makes money, or Tweety Pie, whatever the hell his name, PewDiePie, it does off their like revenue. But that's very hard to do. The only way I would recommend for someone to make money is to have a business and you're using YouTube as a vehicle to promote your business and sell your products. And like I want to come back to this example because this guy is a genius. He does zero coding, kills it, and he does work with WordPress. But I showed you this before. This guy, all he does is does tutorials of how to do stuff with WordPress without coding. He has a YouTube channel where he has, pretty decent amount of subscribers, 215,000 subscribers. That's a lot. And he doesn't make his money off YouTube. He makes money, like every video that he has is links to his website where he sells courses. And he makes bajillion dollars, more so that he would ever make in ads of the courses that he makes. So if you want to be successful, have a business that utilizes the power of YouTube, but don't try to be successful by being a YouTuber, because that is going to be very hard to do, and the time required to do that be better spent of just having a normal job. I mean, that's like kind of my answer to Tech Rally there. Aspiring YouTuber, that guy. And he actually has a pretty good channel. I suggest you guys check it out if you guys haven't seen it yet.
Yeah, I
Yep.
totally agree. I'm not on YouTube, but I
Too busy
probably
making
should
money,
be.
bro. Too
Yeah,
busy
I
making
mean,
money.
you can't do it all, right?
No,
I
you
mean,
can't.
seriously, you just can't do it all.
Yeah.
And I know it's way too much work for it. I'll have to take away from something to give to this.
Yeah.
But building a brand is important, especially if you want to get in. Eventually, jobs will come to you. People will be like, "Hey, we saw your channel. We want you to come work for us." That will probably happen one day,
Yeah.
and it can't happen if you don't have a brand, which
Yeah.
unfortunately, I don't. But hopefully, the business will pick up,
Yeah.
and I'll be a
Yeah.
millionaire from that. So we'll see.
Yeah, and that's like super important, is this idea of self-promotion, building a brand, building like a, you know, business around your brand, and then just trying to use leverage of YouTube or social media. And certain things and certain businesses, like maybe YouTube is not important for you. Anybody who wants to, like, there's so many developers. Like there's a joke that all the bad developers are on YouTube. Like, I'm not afraid to say it because, like, I have a friend. He's a senior engineer. He's an architect now. He's not on YouTube. He does nothing on YouTube because he's too busy at his job and he's killing it at work. And so a lot of people start on YouTube to build a brand, to build a connection, either because they want to get discovered, and then when somebody hires them and makes them an offer that's worthwhile, they're no longer on YouTube anymore because they have a job that pays them like 150K, or they legitimately want to have a business around YouTube, and so they brand themselves and they build a business around YouTube. You know what I mean? But those people that, let's say, have a coding channel where they sell merch, they talk of like the lifestyle, they do zero coding, they make money as a entrepreneur who probably has like, you know, they either push other people's product, which is nothing wrong with that. They have their merch store and they're like, they have a brand around it, and that's how they make money. They're not a programmer. They just happen to talk about programming. And so like, I'm trying to be somewhere in the middle. Like, I want to have a YouTube channel where I talk about programming, but I actually also want to be a developer, but I do want to make my millions on YouTube. That's like kind of like my challenge for this generation. Is like, dude, YouTube's so amazing. If you're not making money off YouTube, I don't know what to tell you. So, yep, that's what I have to say. This little mini rant.
Looks like Tech Rally wants to make that referral commission off me.
Listen,
I don't know if I want to go to Fang. I don't know.
Yeah, side commission. Man, the commission I got for you is my unmade videos that are still waiting to be edited. I'll send you those your way, Tech Rally. You could help me out with those. Like what kind of commission? Like, that's so funny. Like, the only reason I want to make like a joke about this is because everybody thinks YouTube is easy, and anybody who did any sort of YouTube is gonna like tell you right away it's not worth it. And we literally hate ourselves. That's why we keep doing it. That's just the fact and the truth about it. You know. Yeah. So yeah, it's hilarious.
Oh, okay. So he means for my.
I see what he wants. Affiliate.
Business.
He wants. Yeah, I see what he's getting at. Yeah, smart.
Hey, if he brings me business, he's got it.
Yeah. Listen, I used to work as a salesperson, and like a lot of people don't like salespeople, and sales sucks, by the way. But the saying in sales, there's no ceiling on your income, and there's no floor. If you're really good at sales, you're gonna do well. And what's amazing, really good salespeople, they make ridiculous commission, and sometimes they make way more money than developers do, because like, if a person can't sell the product, the business, there'll be no developer jobs. And so like, you know, if you're really good at sales, hey, and you want to make a lot of money, that's one avenue to pursue, but it's such a rough job, you know. But that's what you do as by the way, that's what you do as you know, freelancer. If you suck at sales, how far can you go as a freelancer? Let me ask you that question. Be direct.
Oh,
direct.
Yeah, you're not going anywhere. Yeah. You're not getting anything done. It's sales first.
Yeah.
And I'd really say, I keep harping on it. It's problem solving first.
Yeah.
I'll say it again. Nobody cares about the website. Nobody cares about what solution it is. They don't care if it's homing pigeons, as long as it makes them money.
Yeah.
So you have to solve their problems.
Yeah. Yeah.
And make them feel comfortable with you.
Yep.
That's about it.
Yeah. So what's some of the challenges you have as a freelancer? Like, what is the worst thing that happened to you where you like almost felt like this is not worth it?
Man, I feel that all the time.
Is this not the answer? Nobody would want to do that. You gotta.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to be honest.
Good about something.
Nope, I'm going to be 100% honest. That question goes through people's minds. Like, should I continue this? Should I quit? It doesn't matter if you're making over $1 million a year or not, because I've recently, within the last week, talked to somebody who's doing that. They still have those questions in their mind. They still have a hard time selling because they still physically do it themselves. I think they just hate themselves or something. I don't know. But they could easily hire somebody, but they don't. It's the selling and getting comfortable with being uncomfortable and all the rejection that comes with it. It's a lot of times it makes you wonder, like, should I maybe just pick up something easier on the side? Should I do something different? Should I make fitness videos?
Yeah.
It's something you have to be you have to accept that there's going to be a lot of negative stuff and bad times
I could see in
for
your
those good times.
I could see in your face that you actually asked yourself that question. It's like, should I keep my freelancing business or would it be easier to make fitness videos? Like I could tell you're like, maybe I'll be a fitness YouTuber rather than doing this freelance thing,
Well, I
which
mean,
is
that's fitness is popular, food
yeah,
is
yeah,
popular,
yeah,
like,
yeah, 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 yeah,
but
yeah.
yeah, I mean, I think about it all the time. You always have to evaluate the situation you're in, where you think you'll be if you're going to reach your next goal, or you don't want to keep pumping money into something and then get no results out of it. I
Yeah,
mean, yeah, you can have a tax write-off, but you're losing money.
yeah,
Uh, and you want to make sure if you are spending money, it's wisely.
yeah,
Because I mean, don't be fooled. I'm not talking to you, so it's just in general. You you have to spend money to make money. You're unless you have like somebody just mentioned. Oh, Tech Rally mentioned it. Um, unless you have a crazy amount of referrals, or your network is so wide that you again have a crazy amount of referrals, you at some point will have to spend money to get yourself out there, whether it's through ads or it's paying to go to conventions, which hasn't been happening, um, but should this year, hopefully. Doing whatever it takes, spending money. You have. I've been constantly pumping little bits of money here and there to where it
yeah,
feels like I'm just bleeding money all the time.
yeah,
So so you always have to think am I making enough money to make all this worth it? If if not, then maybe you should, you know,
reconsider.
either pivot, change
Yeah,
direction, which is I think a real good marketing guy, the future that I watch a lot. He
yeah,
talks
he's
about
interesting.
pivoting
He's a
all the
good
time.
salesperson. Good
Oh
salesperson. You
yeah,
want to
he's
learn how to
excellent.
sell? Like he could sell garbage to people. I'm not saying he does, but he's so good at that he could do it. But I just want to say this because this is super important. But like all joking aside, referrals, to get freelancing gigs is super huge, and that's one of the best and easiest ways to sell your services is to a satisfied customer and asking for a referral and do it in a personal way. I remember this insurance guy came to my house. He literally drove there to sell me insurance, and I was like, I knew I wasn't gonna buy it anyway, but he still came. He put in so much effort, and then he left. And I was like, yeah, I didn't buy it because I'm not going to buy it. Whatever. I don't need his goddamn insurance. And then on Christmas, I get a card from him, handwritten, talking about, hey, I know we had this like last year, blah blah insurance, and I know you decided not to go with us, and I totally understand. But is there anyone that blah blah? But he didn't even say that in his first. I'm just skipping ahead. He wrote me first, Merry Christmas, blah 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 blah. Stop. Couple of weeks later, I get another like card, handwritten. Asked me, hey, if you know anybody, and I felt obligated to refer someone to him. And so, like, referral is the easiest way to make sales because you're already dealing with someone that could give social proof to you. Like, by the way, it's also a great way to get hired. If you set out a bunch of applications and no one's returning your calls, if you know a friend who works at a particular company, if your friend brings in an application and refers you to the boss, you have way higher chances of at least getting the interview. Super important. I'm gonna make fun of Tech Rally. I paid for my Fiverr logo. Gotta pay for that value. I know. I could tell. I could have made your logo for you, bro. You should have just paid me the money. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. Don't hurt me. I'm just teasing. Teasing. He made fun of me being old on Coder Foundry, and I'm like an elephant. I never forget. So I'm just gonna have to. But no, Fiverr is amazing. I like made a logo. I was actually going to start a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu school when I moved back to Texas, like because I have a lot of people that are telling me to do that, and I just got confused for a little bit, and I didn't, thank God. But I actually went on Fiverr to get a logo made, and I was surprised. Like it cost me $50, so it wasn't like super cheap, but comparatively to logos, it was actually a really good deal, and the logo was amazing. I was like, oh my God. And like, that's actually, this brings us to another question. If you learn how to vet people on Fiverr or similar sites like that, that you could find someone that lives somewhere else that will be able to do good work, because they can. Like, how much of your work do you outsource? It doesn't have to be Fiverr, but do you
Well,
outsource your work
no, I'm not
for
in a
your business?
position to do that yet. Yeah, I haven't
Okay,
been
okay,
running long enough. I don't, if I had a steady stream of work to where
yeah,
I could bring in a team, I want to be the person on the beach,
yeah, but
drinking my Mexican beer.
yeah, but
So
that's the
I, at the
goal, though.
earliest opportunity, yes. Well, at the
Okay,
earliest opportunity,
yeah,
I would start outsourcing it. But it would be after them doing basically, I would probably give them a fake project and say, this is for a client, complete it, whatever piece of it or the whole
yeah,
thing, and work with them to build them
yeah.
up.
That's
I
yeah,
would just take that loss up front and pay
yep,
them for it. And when
yep,
I know they're well, they'll never be 100%. When I know they're at least 75%, um, I will release them onto clients, and
yep,
then I can come in at the end and do a little polishing. Uh, but yeah, it would be as early as possible.
yeah, yeah. It
And
makes
for your
yeah. Go ahead.
oh I was going to say, for your insurance guy, do you see the parallel to what I said at the beginning of our stream
Yeah, yeah,
with
100%.
the restaurant?
Yeah,
Yeah, it's people people love stuff like that, being flattered. People love themselves. They love feeling important. A sincere ulterior motive makes you feel important,
yeah,
on whether it's on some level, whether you kind of realize it or not.
yeah.
um, that's what people really need to do when they're selling. Uh,
Yeah, you have to be likable and you have to bring value
yes.
100%. And that's like, like a lot of people don't know this about me. Like when I was younger, like I had very short temper. I was like an a-hole. And like I had to learn to be nice to people. And now people are like, Paul's such a nice guy. Like it's because I learned eventually, I'm like 40 years old now, that not being nice doesn't help you in life. And so like it was like a hard lesson to learn. But I remember I had a friend who we both had a mutual friend, and one of those guys knew me before I became normal. And then they were both talking about me, while one guy was saying Paul's like the nicest guy ever, he goes out of his way to help, and the other guy was like, Paul's such a dick, like you friends with him, like what the hell's wrong with you? And so like being nice. And I like how that Dale Carnegie book, How to Win and Influence People, like really good book. And I think investing in that ability to lift people up and to help people out is gonna go longer, like way than just being like trying to just impress people with what you could do for them. If that makes sense. Like I think that's like super important to do. So yeah, I think people like likable people. I don't know what to tell you. Like you know, we do have
Oh
a.
yeah.
Go ahead.
Oh no, no. I was just reading the last couple questions,
Yeah,
but
let me
yeah, I was gonna say I agree with you 100%
put one
on
up
that.
here. As a freelancer, how do you guys do price? I think this is a good one for custom websites. Can you give an example? And I think this is something that a lot of people struggle with. They either undervalue their service and then
Hmm.
end up getting way over their head, and after they everything is said and done, they literally make like 2 cents an hour. How do you kind of like figure out what to price the website, and then how do you kind of prepare yourself realistically to not under deliver or over like undervalue yourself, if you know what I'm trying to get at? That's basically like, how do you prevent yourself from pricing something correctly that you're not taking a hit after like the amount of work you put into it, because you could end up literally in a negative. I've done that before.
Yeah, and you might at first, until you get your processes down. And I fully expect that at some point, in the future, on a big project that I've never encountered before, because I don't have a perfect process down for it, for that situation, I might not make as much money as I want to, or I might, even lose something. I don't know. You never know what'll happen. But you have value based pricing, which I'm a massive fan of,
Yeah,
and
that's the
I'm
best way.
guessing you know about that, right?
Yeah,
So if somebody you estimate will make 1.2 million a year, you could try to sell them a full solution for 10% of it,
oh,
or one
100%. Yeah,
or 1% of it, and your goal is to say, hey, because of this, I estimate you're going to make this. So 1.2 million. So it is totally worth you spending 12,000 to achieve your goals.
Yeah.
And a lot of times people like value-based pricing like that more than if you say, "Oh, we're $6,000 no matter what." You
Yeah.
when you talk about value-based, you're getting into all their business processes
Yeah.
and saying, "Hey, you've got this right now, but we can switch it over to this." You're basically personalizing it at such an extreme level to show them what they could potentially make,
Yeah.
that there's no question that it's not a cookie cutter solution, and they're fully comfortable with you usually by that time. I mean, as I just mentioned that about the one I found out about today that we lost. You know, even stuff happens. I mean,
Yeah.
who knows why they did it? We tried to go with the value based pricing. We thought they were on board. They weren't.
Yeah.
I don't know if they got spooked or if they just decided they didn't want to spend money.
Yeah.
But the other side of that, and what I actually put on, uh, what I actually advertise is just fixed pricing. And it does vary per customer. I'm not
Right.
saying I stick with fixed pricing, I don't stick with value based. I do it as situation dictates.
Yep.
But I like, for example, I just have a basic site that I can make in one night would
Yeah.
be like $800 for a single page,
Right.
$300 per additional page, not
Right.
including like about us pages. That
And
doesn't,
then
or contact. That
and
doesn't really count.
yep. And just to follow up with that, after you complete a
Hmm.
site like that, do you do like a retaining fee if someone wants to, or do you have some ongoing fee structure that you create, like to maintain the site or whatever? Or do you just like, here's your site, you're welcome, leave it or like take it
Well,
or leave it?
that's what I've done in the past, and I want to switch from that now. I haven't picked up any new customers in my new method yet, and I
Yeah.
haven't even finished testing my method yet either. But
Yeah.
I was going to use basically DigitalOcean and and create my own like shared server center, like shared
Yep.
hosting. And as part of my packages, I would sell hosting packages.
Yep.
Basically as sort of a lock-in. So I don't want to make people have a maintenance plan, but I do want them to have a plan to keep spending
Yeah.
money with.
Yeah.
And it's easier to do that with hosting. And I
Right.
would of course say, hey, this is all your code, you own it. If you
Yeah.
want to transfer it, you can get a
Change hosting. Yeah.
developer and transfer it out.
Yeah.
Uh, but I would make the full price of all of my hosting per customer. So
Right.
after the first customer, it would just be 100% profit. Each one would
Yeah,
stack on
yeah,
each other.
yeah. No, that's good. And I used
Yep.
to when I used to do like WordPress stuff, I basically not quite like on that level, but what I would do is I would have a fixed price for like a website, and it would be like around like for a simple basic website, it would be between $800 to $1,500. And then afterwards, any extra stuff they wanted to do, I would have a hourly retainer fee. Like they're like if they want something extra, like I could do it by the hour because what I found out like everybody likes to scope creep, and so like I don't want to be stuck in a project where they're asking for all these additional features and then they're trying to say like, oh, but we agreed to this price. So it's very important, I think, when you're pricing a site is to make sure everything is in writing, and you don't talk about like you very clear about it, like these are the features that are included under this price. Any additional feature we would have to change the price, renegotiate the price, or whatever we have to do, because it's very easy for people to kind of start taking advantage of you. And Tackler was saying, don't let people take advantage of you. And this is like of your niceness. And this is one way that someone could do it when you're a freelancer, is they just keep nickel diming or pushing until it's like you're like, holy shit. So don't be shy about like have everything in writing, and then don't be shy about asking like for more money, for sure.
Yeah, the statement of work is where you want to get super detailed. And you would say, if there are any additional features or anything, whatever, I'd have to look at mine to see the wording. Let's just say features added. My price is $110 an hour.
Yeah.
So you have to be extremely specific, even when, courts of law kind of side on the other person anyway. um, you can at least have the best chance you can of winning an argument if they say, "Oh no, we wanted Facebook, but we paid you $800,"
Yeah,
and
let
you're like,
me.
"No, I was gonna give you a grocery store site." Like
Yeah,
you got to, cover your butt.
yeah. Tech Rally had another question I want to jump into in a second, but before I do that, there's a reason like when you're pricing your services, $150 an hour doesn't mean $150 an hour. It's like if you have a regular job where you're making 40 bucks an hour, let's say, and it's 40 hours a week, when you're working as a freelancer, $150 an hour does not take into account all the work you took and put into finding that client and getting that service, like when you're pricing stuff. So like it's like when people like complain like why is it so expensive, is because you want to make money for the effort before you got your job and for the effort like afterwards. And that's why like sometimes like why is it $150 an hour, because you're not really making $150 an hour. You're just trying to recuperate that initial investment of loss on time and effort that it took to get that client to be able to get them back, you know
Yeah,
so
absolutely. That doesn't change when you add people on.
right,
That's why
right.
that's why companies are so expensive.
Yeah,
When a
right.
company's charging $150,000 for a website where you're like, I can make that for 2,000.
Yeah,
Like there's a reason. They're paying for building, lighting, they're
yeah,
paying 30 developers, they're paying 20 salesmen that are out every day making 50 cold calls each. Like it's you have to estimate all that and figure out your effective rate, which
yeah.
is the amount, hourly averaged over the entire project you're profiting.
Yeah, and I want to come back to your kind of example why, like, I think like the way you're doing it is smart, going after businesses, is because if someone like imagine me, Paul Berslavsky, someone comes up to me and they're like, Paul, you need a website. I'm going to charge you $5,000 for a website. You have to pay. I'll be like, get the hell out of here. I'm not paying you $5,000 for a website. It's too much money. You go to a company, you be like, same website. It's like I'm gonna like charge $5,000 and they're gonna think it's a steal because like where they at. So like what I've seen happen before, I have a friend who started doing freelancing with businesses for the same reason, because he had a same website that he wanted to do like for like an individual. They would never ever pay him half the what he wanted for it. They literally were trying to be like 1,200 bucks. This company ended up paying 30 grand for that website because it's a business. They don't want to mess around. They don't want to nickel dime you. They want to solve their problem, like you were saying earlier. They just want the value, the solution, and they will pay you whatever is necessary that makes sense for them because they don't want to deal with it. It's like, super important to do that. And that's, I think, like you're definitely onto something. And Tech Rally had another question. What happens when you freelance, but you run into issues where you can't figure out what happens? It will cost you money. It ends up costing you money, but how do you handle situations like this? And then does this lead into the idea that maybe you started freelancing too goddamn early? Like, this is an interesting question. I'd love to hear your take about it.
Well, there's always going to be stuff you don't know. Nobody knows everything, right? You can't account for some odd edge case. So when you run into it, you do what we do as developers. We start by Googling, right? Whether it be Stack Overflow or whatever. Look at the docs and then go through all your normal steps. If you still can't figure it out, guess what? You're a one man team. You have to figure it out.
Yeah,
There's no option.
yeah,
I've taken that approach my entire developer career because of the situations I've been put in, and it's profited me immensely. I've grown way faster than I think I should have,
yeah.
uh, and I just use that approach in freelancing. I just sit there and I work through it until I figure out a solution.
What?
There is a solution. It's somebody's
Right.
figured it out before, right?
Yeah, one thing that I'm going to add to that, like, is that if, let's say, you're on the deadline and you're stuck, don't be afraid to find somebody else that has more experience with the topic and to help you out. Maybe it'll cost you some money up front, but you could learn from that experience and understand what they did. So if you can't do something and you like, some people could figure it out, but at the same time, if you can't, don't be shy of trying to find somebody else that could help you. And yeah, it's not going to be free. unless you have some friends that could help you. But that's kind of something you have to do rather than going to a client and being like, look, I can't complete your project. But hopefully, when you're pricing the project, you know your limits and you only talk about those things. And if someone says to you, which is I haven't done personally, but I know people that done it, like when someone tells them something complex that they can't do, they'll be like, hey, I could do this part of your website, but for this other thing that you're doing, I'm going to bring an outside contractor that's going to help with them because they're more qualified with that, and this is what they charge for that service. And you could kind of add it together. You don't even have to have this conversation with them if you already have a contractor in mind. You could just do that thing. But like I personally try to, like, I don't do freelancing anymore, but I would probably not take on to something that I didn't feel I could comfortably do. Like I just would not take that as a project because the stress would kill me.
I guess I'm a little different, but I
You're crazy,
absolutely,
bro.
I absolutely agree with, you can always bring somebody in. Definitely nothing wrong with that. But if you're at that point, and even me, if I hit a point where I was like, oh man, it's been like 4 days and I can't get past this weird error or something, I would be on the phone right away with the client and be like, look, we're gonna have to push this back a week or whatever it is. Communication is key. There's
So
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 many.
so so honesty is still the best policy, apparently.
Yeah,
No,
there's
no,
so
it's
many
100%. Yeah,
people.
yeah,
Yeah, so many people that don't communicate well
yeah.
and leave business owners with a bad taste in their mouth towards web developers because they'll either just disappear or they won't answer something for a month or they'll be 2 weeks late with no explanation. Like you got to communicate. Like I guess you're an employee with your boss almost. I mean
Yeah,
that's just. I mean it's not fun thinking, oh, I'm making my own money, but the customer's still my boss. But the reality is they
that's
kind
the
of are.
fact. Yeah, that's
Yep.
still the fact. Here's a question. Like, just get my company is going to start using Elementor for all of our websites. Is that a good choice instead of building from scratch? WordPress teams are using something like Webflow for CMS and SEO. One thing I'm going to say, WordPress probably has the best SEO stuff out of any of the other technologies I use. So if you need everything to be with, unless you're going to build everything custom, and with Elementor, like I think it's perfect for WordPress. And if you're using Elementor and other themes, like I don't think you have to build any WordPress themes from scratch. That's my opinion. What are your thoughts on SEO and WordPress compared to some other available technologies? Because I don't think
I
other
mean,
stuff, yeah, it doesn't have it baked in like WordPress does.
no, no, not at all. Well, WordPress is so mature that
Yeah,
they've had 20 plus years to perfect it. Um, I've seen him in, I think, coding phases stuff. I think since I started developing,
yeah,
I think I've seen him in chats.
yeah,
I'd like to know what he's doing now. Is he only doing WordPress or is he doing something else?
yeah. I
But
love the
I mean,
name too. That's pretty good.
Yeah, Elementor is pretty great. I love it, and I think you'll like using it too. The SEO, obviously is baked in. Um, you're going to be between like 92 and 100% on your SEO scores for Lighthouse. It'll be a little different for Axe and for a couple. The names are eluding me. I might have them in my plugins. Nope, I'm on a different computer. Um, but your SEO is always high with WordPress. Elementor is no different. On all my sites I've made, I'm scoring 100 out of 100 for SEO using Elementor. So I wouldn't worry about that at all. And customizing it, doing like custom functions, custom shortcodes, you can do just about anything you want with Elementor. So there's nothing wrong with it. The only thing that would be wrong with it for him is if he feels like it's holding back his progress from something greater or something
Yeah,
different. Like
dude.
don't
No
don't
shame
box
of
yourself
using
in.
Elementor. I use
Yeah.
Elementor a bunch of times for what you're doing. But again, like if your goal is to become a developer where you're working on more complex apps, like you just have to find what you're happy with. Then you might have to like continue learning other technologies, stuff like that. But like there's nothing wrong making money with WordPress or like I mentioned, my friend who makes $100 an hour with Squarespace, which is ridiculous. I still can't believe it. It blows my
Yeah.
mind. Him and his wife, she's like, like they have like this business, but they do SEO as part of it, and they take photos also as part of it. But still, um, here's one great example. I had that happen to me where I charged $1,600 for a site. Individual said too much, but the company was like, "Man, that's a great sale." Yeah, real estate company. By the way, if you're like, I worked for a marketing company where we had like most of our clients were real estate companies. They will pay you whatever it takes because they just want to sell the goddamn house. And so if you're looking to do freelancing and you know how to make some cool real estate sites that implement their like searching thing that is like an API thing, and I think they have a plugin for WordPress too. So you could do really well, like going after WordPress. By the way, I know you have a time limit, so let me know whenever you have to go because I definitely want to be mindful of your time, and I don't want to like get anyone in trouble because I'd love to have you back whenever you want
Yeah.
to be back.
Let's. I didn't realize it was already past 8. Let's do like 5 more minutes,
Yeah.
and
Okay.
I've already gone almost 15 over what I said I would
Yeah.
do.
Let's make it. Oh man,
Yeah, I
I'm in
can't
trouble.
can't make the wife too mad.
No, you can't. You can't. Yeah. Yeah. So guys, if you have any final questions for DJNorris, let us know. I'll stay a little bit on and talk to you guys. But if you have any like questions about freelancing, about like do it now, he already gave us our super secret formula. Go into Webflow, plugin development. No, we don't know if that's a thing, by the way. We're just, but if it is, you're gonna make some, money for sure. Um,
If it exists, I'm doing it.
oh, here you go. Used to building stuff from scratch. That's amazing that you could build from scratch. Like I've done bunch of themes from scratch, and the amount of work and effort that goes into it. Like I only did like two, and then after that, I just used their starter theme. I forgot what it's called, and then I just build on top of it. I mean, I don't do WordPress anymore, but that's amazing. I think like basically whatever the client needs, you want to make sure the tooling that you use is not an overkill. So if someone needs a simple website and not any like customizable like things or custom fields, just using like a page builder is fine, but if someone needs something crazy, that's then I guess you have to do something crazy. But yeah.
Yeah, I don't think from his question, or statement, I guess, uh, I don't think he'll be challenged.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not if he's building from scratch and then
Yeah,
going
yeah, yeah,
backwards to
yeah.
Elementor.
No,
So
page builders are like for like marketers who want to build websites quickly and then sell those websites and make money. Yeah, that's like one thing like where I lost like kind of like I didn't lose love for WordPress, but that's where I kind of like WordPress is a perfect solution for marketers that sell websites to other businesses rather than developers that want to work as developers. In terms of like the sense of like in terms of challenge. And if you're doing like PHP development from scratch, like I would look in like let's do Laravel, let's do some React front
yeah,
end. You know what I mean? Like stuff like that. Since you know PHP so well, because they'll just help you to get more money out of like because like I don't know, like I haven't looked at how much like WordPress developers make compared to like React and Laravel developers. There's got to be like a difference though. Like I'm assuming, um,
I
so
just stay away from PHP jobs
yeah,
altogether.
yeah,
If it's
yeah,
not for freelance,
yeah,
because
yeah.
they're traditionally like in at least the East Coast, they're very low paying. So
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, so for broad tripping, I mean, it's just for work. Just do what you got to do to make
Yeah.
money, and
Yeah.
then keep learning
100%.
on the side.
Yeah.
Like so, with Elementor, they have very powerful theming uh,
Yep.
within Elementor itself, like
Yeah.
dynamic theming.
Yeah.
They have a lot of little dynamic elements that are just hidden everywhere. If you can learn that well, then there's a business in being a freelancer, marketing, being able to do that stuff and use like advanced custom fields and just modifying all that and doing that for other agencies that make websites, like
That's
smaller agencies like I work with. because a
Yeah.
lot of those guys can't figure that stuff out. So
Yeah,
you
that's
can, there's still money to be made.
and that's like interesting because that doesn't seem exciting, but there's definitely money to be made with that, 100%. And that's one thing that like when you're starting out or maybe you've been doing it for a while, like remember like whatever your goal is, there's plenty of places like you know DJ just mentioned where there's an opportunity to make money, but it's just not as exciting by saying like I build a React app, but you could probably make tons of money for sure, you know. Here you go. PHP devs actually make a lot of money. Yeah, like I'm sure, like especially if there's a need for them, and like I started with PHP and I still love WordPress, just not as much as I love React and
Yeah,
Strappy.
you're just
Sorry,
not, well, so it's all by area, right?
but that's 100%. I was gonna say that.
But just traditionally, like I've always just stuck with East Coast searching, including like everywhere from New York down to
Yeah,
Florida. And he's absolutely right. There are some jobs that are 150, 175 a year, but the average, at least when I was searching,
60,
was
60,
50, 60,
55, 60.
70.
Yeah, yeah, the
Yeah.
same.
Whereas when we're looking at Node.js or we're looking at pretty much any other type of developer, we're talking about in the 90s to
Yeah,
start. So I really, it doesn't make sense to go hardcore after PHP when the chances of you making it into those higher paying jobs
it's
are
very hard.
slim when you have guys who have 15, 20 years of PHP experience fighting for the same jobs. They're
Yeah,
the guys who are going to get it. Just like that's a problem with C sharp also. And that's a problem with C, that's a problem with, Perl, with most of the other C++. You got guys who are, industry experts, guys who have years and years, and you're coming in with 2 years of experiences
yeah, it's
in
hard to
something.
compete.
Trying to compete for $120,000 job. Unless you're the owner's friend, you're not making it.
Yeah, that's one of the
So
reasons I went into React because it's a fairly new technology that was became pretty popular, and I felt like, you know, when I started, no one could say I have 10 years of React experience because it didn't
right.
exist that long. So I think like finding technologies like that and breaking into the field. But anyway, like I don't want to keep you too long. I know you could talk for hours and hours. I don't want to get in trouble with your wife either, you know. But anytime you want to come back, also, always awesome to have you. I'd love to keep having these chats. Like, if anything, for me, they're great because I learned so much. So just want to say thank you for jumping on.
Oh yeah, I love it. Yeah. I appreciate you having me. So, everybody in the chat and watching, have a good evening. I will see y'all later.
Yeah, he'll be back. He'll be back. We have a lot of topics up,
Yep.
but hey, have a good night. We'll talk to you later.
All
All
right, you
right.
too. Bye.
Peace. Bye. Hey guys, that was an amazing talk. Hey, I'm going to stick around for a little bit more to answer your questions, so don't be shy. Ask your questions. At the end of the day, I just want to say, wherever you live, wherever you work, there's going to be, like certain jobs that are going to be more popular than others. And at the end of the day, you got to follow the market. And I'll give you an example. I just recently started a contract role, and prior to that, I've been doing a lot of C Sharp and React. And at this company, they do React with JavaScript, but their backend was with Python. And my boss, he was like, "Look, you're gonna have to learn some Python." And you know what? Like, because this is like my new job, like I got hired there. It's like, yeah, I'm gonna learn some Python, and you have to have that flexibility to do what's in demand and in the market. So if you're already working at a company and they're using certain technologies, embrace those technologies, learn as much as you can about them to make yourself valuable, but still continue following your dream. Like for me, it's becoming the best in React. So even though at my company we use C Sharp and I'm learning it, I just learned enough to be able to do my job well. But at the same time, at home, I'm still learning React, still trying to kind of master my skills that I'm passionate about. But at the same time, if React was not popular, if there were no jobs around React, I would not be learning it. So don't learn something that does not have opportunity, but pay attention to the languages that are popular in your area and do those things. Make sure you follow those. So Yeah, I love chatting with you guys. I want to say, by the way, like you guys have been so awesome. This channel would not exist if you guys didn't come in, ask such awesome questions. Like it really is about the community, and you guys make it amazing. So always thank you for like tuning in, watching some dude randomly talk about stuff. Because I am just some random dude who started web development late in life, and I just want to say it's because of you guys we have this awesome community. So let's do another round like of some more questions, and you could talk about more about freelancing. And what I would say is that whatever you decide to do, it's super important to pursue it with full effort. So if you're going to go into freelancing, freelancing is a skill in itself. So you have to read books about freelancing, you have to read books about sales, you have to like learn about freelancing. Same thing like if you just do web development as a job, like it's a different skill. So when you're becoming a freelancer who's a developer, you're taking two different skills, being a freelancer and then being a programmer, and you combining them together. And in that sense, that is why freelancing is difficult, is because you just have to do a lot more, where with a job, you just show up, you do your work, you get paid, and both approaches are fine, and there's nothing wrong with them. Like for instance, I wanna, like my goal for my YouTube channel right now is to build a brand to a point where everybody knows me. Also, I want to get into the business of making programming tutorials that I could eventually sell. So even though like that's not where I am now, that is my goal, and on my free time, that's what I'm working towards. But at the same time, I still have my job because my YouTube business tutorial doesn't exist at the moment. And so like I just have to grind and go through it. So keep you guys like keep at it. Yeah, you try not to be stagnant for sure. One thing, like when I used to learn about marketing, and also when I started learning about programming, one of the best analogies I heard about programming is that it's like walking up an escalator that's moving down. So imagine the escalator is moving down and you keep walking the moving down escalator. And if you stop walking, the escalator will eventually end up on the bottom. And that's what learning web development is that you constantly have to evolve. You constantly have to think about the technologies that are coming up, and you constantly have to learn new things to stay relevant. And that's one of the reasons why being a programmer, a developer is difficult, is because you constantly have to learn new things, and it's very easy to end up being irrelevant if you stop learning. But that's also the good news. If you're willing to constantly learn new things, you're always going to be on top of what is in demand, and you're always going to be hireable and be able to get those jobs. Hey, Jose, what's going on? Yeah, so let's do more questions, guys. In the meantime, I'm going to take a look at the comments. Yeah, but like I said, it's amazing to have you guys here. Let me know about like what you guys are learning, what you guys are doing. How many of you guys are just starting out your journey? How many of you guys already been working and employed? Because I'd love to hear from you guys. It's super important. And while we wait for some more questions, I want to tell you, when I first started out as a web developer, like I wasn't able to get like a normal regular job. So I literally started telling people, hey, like I could set you guys up with a WordPress website. And I first started with friends, and when people weren't even, telling me like, hey, can you build a website? I actually built some WordPress websites on my own for fake businesses that didn't exist. But at the same time, when people like ask me like, oh, have you built websites? I actually had websites that I deployed to show them. And over time, eventually, I got a job at a marketing company working with WordPress sites. And that required very simple HTML and CSS. But at that time, I started to learn JavaScript. And little by little, like that, I just evolved as a developer to a point where now I work as a React developer. The Baileys go, thanks for all the gems in the video. I'm looking into Webflow now. No, that's awesome. I'm glad that you were able to join us because honestly, like I do these live streams because I just want to talk to you guys and give you, something valuable that you could use in your day-to-day life to help you achieve your goal as a developer or go farther. And more importantly, want to hear from you guys, your experiences, what you guys been through, so the whole community grows together. Just curious, what are you going to do to differentiate yourself from the rest of the channels? My differentiator is pretty like, I'm over 30. I'm actually 40. I'm going to be 41 in July. And that is my differentiator. I'm the only channel that specifically talks about switching careers after 30. You know what I mean? That is my market. There's my differentiator. And if you see it, not too many people who are young follow me. Like my demographic is literally people between the ages of like 30 and like 39, and that is my differentiator. Maybe I'll have more character. I don't know. Maybe I'll do some, what are those YouTuber boxing matches? But all jokes aside, like basically my whole niche is finding people who were in a position like me, over 30, who worked somewhere where they weren't happy with, or maybe they just wanted to do something else and they're looking to switch careers and they were considering doing web development. So that's exactly my niche. That's my differentiation. And that's the reason why I named my channel Coding After 30. And I know some people joke around about it being like, hey, you should rename your channel Coding After 40. And the truth is that's not my demographic. Just because I'm 40 years old and I am still coding after 40, the whole point is a channel specifically designed for people in their like kind of early 30s, late 30s, could be over 40s, but the point is that's who this channel is for those individuals who are looking to switch careers and get started in another field, and they want to follow someone who's actually did exactly that. So I was in my 30s when I switched careers, so it doesn't matter how old I am now. What matters is that anybody who was in the same place that I was has a channel to go to, and here's some hopefully great advice to help them make that transition. Yeah, the freelancing thing, like we talked about, and you could rewatch like the stream. It's a good place to start at, but it is challenging. It is tough, and I think it's a good place to start with. When the only reason I did freelancing is because I couldn't get a regular job, so I figured like I'm gonna play a game with myself. Could I build a freelancing business that will pay me more than the job that I will eventually get? So I basically tried freelancing while trying to get hired. I ended up getting hired and ended up staying with that and kind of gave up the freelance. But that's the fact. It is, man. Mad props to that. I don't know what and props you're giving to, but man, dude, listen. What I want to say, Tech Rally and I, we joke around a lot, and because we want to have this fake drama to help our YouTube channels grow. But what I could say about anybody, doesn't have to be me, doesn't have to be Tech Rally, doesn't have to be you guys, is that people that achieve things in life, they have to put in the work. Like Tech Rally, I know how much he grinds on his YouTube channel. I know how hard you guys work, at home to study, to make things happen. And even though we put this massive effort, it doesn't even guarantee that we're going to be successful, but we still have to at least try. And so for all of you guys tuning in, like nothing in life is guaranteed except some point it's going to end. But outside of that, it's like, why not then work your hardest? Why not give it your all to try to achieve something? And I know Tech Rally, he has a great video, talks about code like you're broke. And it's this idea that no is not an answer. Like you just gonna do this one thing until you're gonna get hired, until you're gonna get your job, until you're gonna achieve your goal. I don't think about it, well, what it's gonna be like. Like this is what a lot of people say, but Paul, but why if you fail? Like, why if you spend all this time learning this thing, and why if you don't succeed? And I'm like, you could say that about anything. Like I could try the other thing and still not succeed. And so instead, the question I ask myself, but what if I do? So instead of being like, well, Paul, what if you don't get hired? Instead, I say, but if I do get hired, then what? Well, then I better be prepared to be able to do my work, to be able to do my job. So I better keep studying, learning to code. I better keep working hard at it because I'm going to get a job. So I better be prepared for it. And that's why I study hard. That's why I keep pushing myself. And that's why I want to tell you my experience. And, that all of you guys understand that everybody's capable of doing that extra work, going that extra mile, and just keep going. And the reason why I got a job as a developer is because I just kept applying. I never gave up, right? I never stopped. Just like I keep going and keep trying. And so that's the most important takeaway, is that just keep going until it happens. And maybe it will never happen in your life. And that's just the truth with a lot of people. And that's why a lot of people say life is not fair. And you know what? It's not. Some people have more opportunities, some people have less opportunity, but it still doesn't mean that you shouldn't give it your best and try. And this is why I come on YouTube. This is why I love talking to you guys, because I want to surround myself with people that are in the trenches, people that are going through the same struggle, going through it to make it happen. And it's so encouraging, and we all have each other to kind of keep moving. But one thing I'm going to say is that you do have to give effort to accomplish your goals. And that, whatever we do is what we're going to get good at. And I always used to tell my daughter, I don't know if it was the smartest advice, but I used to tell her, listen, if you eat ice cream all the time, you're going to get good at eating ice cream. And you're going to get the consequences of eating ice cream. If you do your homework all the time, you're going to get good at doing homework. And you're going to get all the consequences of doing homework. So our choices matter, and what we do matters. And what I will tell you guys, you only know me as this person who's on YouTube talking to you, positive, outgoing, but everybody has things that they went through in life. And I will tell you this, I made so many mistakes in my early 20s, my late 20s, and literally my early 30s. And I'm still paying for those mistakes. And the fact is, nobody could hide from the choices we make. And so my life, if I did things better, could be better. You know what I mean? And I'm content with myself to know, hey, the mistakes that I made, they were my fault. I own up to them. And so now the last 20, 30, 40 years of my life, however long I live, I'm just trying to do better. I'm trying to be more positive, and I'm trying to put in the effort that I didn't put in my early 20s, early 30s. So I'm just gonna say that's the truth. You know what I mean? What if you don't fail, though? Tech Rally, what do you mean if you don't fail? What do you mean by that? By the way, if you wanna talk live about this, we can. I'm always inviting people live to jump in and join us. But no, what do you mean if you don't fail? You mean if you're living on, you have an average job, everything is comfortable, you don't have any pain points in your life to kind of be I don't have anything kind of lighting the fire underneath my feet to push me forward. Is that what you mean when you say, why if you don't fail? That's what I'm wondering. Because at the end of the day, to strive for something, you don't need to have a pain in your life. I know, you talk about coding when you broke. I'm coding, I'm saying, keep going, doing that thing until you succeed. But it doesn't mean there's a pain point. For instance, I switched to development. I had a really good job. I made more money before switching to development than I do now. I just switched to web development because I enjoyed it and liked it. And so I took a huge pay cut. And I probably have a couple of years to go before I make the same amount of money that I made when I had my martial arts business. And so I didn't have a pain point to switch careers because I really enjoyed what I was doing before. I switched careers because I like coding, and because the thing that I did before, my body's too broken to do anymore. Yeah, it's better to make those mistakes in your 20s, 30s, and not do them in your 50s, and you still have a bunch of years ahead. Yeah, that's hard, though, because I keep making mistakes even to this day. I'm just hoping that I've learned from my previous years to hopefully be able to fix my direction and reposition myself to go back on track. But mistakes come at different times. But yes, you do have to have some sort of responsibility for your well-being that allows you to not fall hard, because at a certain point you could fail in such a way that you can't recover. And everybody in their family has stories of relatives who kind of crossed that point of no return where nothing they could do could fix their life. And that is unfortunate. And I'm not saying it's 100%. I had someone in our family who went really, really down, and now they have a great job, they're making a lot of money, and she came back from living hell of what she's been through from drug addictions, from like other things and all this other stuff. And the fact is that anybody could recover, but it does take massive effort. So if you could avoid making mistakes, it definitely helps you. It definitely saves you time. Super important. Yeah, 100% true. If you don't fail, you get a job. So don't let, yeah, that's absolutely true. That's kind of what happened to me. Like I ended up getting a job and I was like, oh, I got a job. All this like stuff. But yeah, but keep going, guys. You know, like it's, there's so many people on YouTube that like give advice. There's so many people like, you know, like have like all these channels like this one, like how to be a developer, how to do whatever. But at the end of the day, nothing I say matters if you're not willing to change, if you're not willing to do the work. And you know, one of the rules that I live by is like nobody will ever change. Like people don't change. Like nobody changes unless they change. So the point is like, don't expect that people will always do the best unless they do it. And that's the point that here is that at the end of the day, you're not going to get better until you get better. Like it's there's no secret, there's no easy formula. And there's a lot of YouTube channels that sell a dream. They sell it like, you know, like any channel, like lose weight without doing any exercise, or become successful on YouTube without, you know, making videos, or learn how to code without coding. Like there's always going to be that pandering that to people who still believe that you could get somewhere without effort, and that's just not the case. And so I know that you guys all know that. That's why you guys watch and follow this channel, because I would never tell you that you could achieve something without doing the work. And that is just the way, you know, things are. You know, you got to do the work. And anybody like there's a lot of people I don't like on YouTube, you know, but if they built something of significance on YouTube, I don't like Christian, I'm going to say it right now, trial drama. I don't like the guy. Maybe he's the nicest guy ever. But one thing, like he does the coding channel, whatever. But one thing that I would never take away from him is that he figured out how to build a successful business on YouTube. He put in the work. I know he worked hard. I can't say that he got lucky. I can't say that he didn't put in the work, even though like I don't like the guy. Just nothing personal against him. I just hate him for no freaking reason. But one thing that I don't hate is his hustle, his hard work, his effort. And that is the truth at the end of the day, is that he put in the work. I'm putting in the work. Tech Rally's putting in the work. You guys putting in the work. And that's what's going to bring you to success. And so even though I might not like people on personal level, maybe because we're different people, I will never knock someone on their hard work that they put in. Coding Face, another example. I love Coding Face, by the way. He's an amazing guy. I love his character. I love the channel he has. That's another guy who crushes it by putting in the effort, putting in the work. You know what I mean? And that's something that you could never take away from you. Like they could take away your money, they could take away whatever, but they will never take away your ability to put in the work, put into the grind, and to accomplish things. And here's like the thing is like a lot of people like jealous about like people that have millions of dollars. Unless you were born into a different story. But people that build $1 million business in the first generation, here's the thing. They could lose it all. They could go broke. They could be homeless. But one thing that they could do again is they could make that $1 million again, because they know how to do it. They have the knowledge. They've done it before, and no one could take away that from them. And it's the same thing with development and stuff like that. When you achieve it, when you learn it, no one can take away that knowledge from you. You'll always be able to get a job. You're always going to be able to get an opportunity, get hired. And so just put in the work. Don't fall into this thing of there's an easy way. There isn't. And keep yourself on track by not trying to learn everything. Like for instance, if you're going to start doing theme development for Shopify apps, just stick with only that until you get a job. If you're going to do React like I did, which I learned nothing outside of React until I got a job. If ASP.NET with C# is your thing, that's what you do and keep going until you get a job. Don't like flip-flop around. Don't jump around. Don't try to have every different thing, because you're going to end up with nothing. You know what I mean? It's like very important to niche down. Make sure you have one path. Stick with it until you accomplish the goal that you have. So guys, any last questions? Anything you guys want to say? I know I blabbered on for like another like 20 minutes because I love talking to you guys and I have a lot to say, if anything, from my failures and my life experiences. But I know that all of you guys been there, done that, so I'm preaching to the choir. We all have amazing stories to tell of struggles that we've been through. There's no shortage of struggle in life stories, and so that's why, like, it's just like we could talk about it all day. But with that being said, guys, any last final thoughts, last questions? I want to thank you guys for being such amazing people, for coming in on this live stream. I really enjoy hearing what you guys say. So let's, last few questions. Come on, who's going to have the question that's going to stump me? Let's do that. Let's ask such a ridiculous question that Paul won't have an answer for it. And I'm not allowed to say I don't know the answer. I'm going to have to come up with something on the fly, even if I make it up. Give you an answer. This is like our streams at the end get ridiculous. So, but yeah, no, guys, I really appreciate, all kidding aside, I really appreciate all of you guys coming on, chatting with me on a beautiful Saturday. Hopefully the Saturday day or night or morning, wherever you are, is beautiful. I hope you're feeling happy, healthy, getting things done. Very important. And, as always, thanks for tuning in. And thanks for Takreli jumping in. Always glad to have him. Thank all of you guys coming in. Even thank you to DJNorris. I always wish he could stay on forever, but I get it. He had to go, which, got to be mindful and respectful of people's times, but it's always fun. And, we will get more of them on, more guests. I think it's going to be awesome. But, I think if you guys don't have any more questions, this would be a great time to end the stream. And yeah, with that being said, hey, Taz, thank you for so much for being here, and thank everybody. Have a rest of the weekend. Keep up the good work, man. Thank you so much. I just love you guys being here. I just want to share my experience and be kind of open with what I had to do to get to where I'm going, because I want people to set realistic expectations about goals of breaking into a new career or starting a new career. I think it's important. Juan, man, thank you for tuning in. Hey, guys, I just can't thank you enough. You're such a good reflection of what this community is. So positive, so awesome. And I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart, because I am some dude on the internet who just comes in here on Saturday, gives some advice, hopefully it's good. But at the end of the day, the only thing I care about is that if you guys are able to not make the same mistakes that I've made, or have you think in a way that is helping you achieve your goals, then this whole YouTube channel is worthwhile, And with that being said, guys, thank you so much for tuning in. I'll see you guys next time. Same bad channel. By the way, if you're new to this and you haven't subscribed to this channel and you find value, subscribe to this channel. Feel free to check out my other videos. Otherwise, I'll see you guys next Saturday. Thanks so much. Paul out.